This is 5 Minutes of Political Common Sense for America. I'm Brian Boeheim, the political engineer. And in this segment, I want to ask the question, what's really true about the U.S. debt or our national debt? Now that the elections are over, we can get back to business. I have to say out loud that I am sick and tired of all the misinformation being propagated about the national debt. Let's clean the slate once and for all and give you the facts. Let's start with the confusion that has been created in defining the difference between annual deficit and national debt. The annual deficit is simply the difference between what is spent, including interest, this year by the federal government, and what's collected in taxes and other revenue sources. The deficit or the difference must be financed with the sale of U.S. Treasury notes. The national debt is simply the outstanding amount of Treasury notes, or IOUs, that the government has outstanding. From a business perspective, the annual deficit would be the amount of loss at the bottom of a profit and loss statement. The national debt, on the other hand, would be the liability side of a balance sheet. The next question is, how much do we really owe? Well, that depends. In real terms, the number is about $13.6 trillion. But much of that we owe to ourselves. We currently owe ourselves about $9 trillion. $4.5 trillion of that is owed to government trust funds like Social Security. Another $1 million to $1.5 million has been used to support the U.S. dollar, and just over another $1 trillion has been used during the financial crisis to buy up mortgages and other IOUs. But let's get back to the question. How much do we really owe? It depends on whether you are talking about money we owe others or we owe ourselves. So that leads us to the next concern. Does China really own most of our debt? I bet if you ask the average person on the street, they will say that China owns most of our debt. And if you're of that group, don't feel bad, because the reality is that the media has been pitching this erroneous data that somehow that China could foreclose on us at any moment. That's just wrong. In reality, Japan currently owns more of our debt than China. How come we never hear anything about Japan? The reality is that both China and Japan own about 6.5% of our total debt. All totaled, we only owe about $4 trillion of our debt to foreign entities, and that includes all of the foreign entities. That's less than 30% of our debt, which, when you look back in history, isn't that disproportionate? So what is the biggest problem with our debt? There is no question that lowering our foreign debt would be advantageous. But more importantly, we need to get our arms wrapped around the problem of Social Security and federal pensions. With the healthcare component, this has become the largest and fastest growing part of our debt. People want to point at interest, but the reality is that most of that interest we're paying to ourselves. The real issue is that our promises for Social Security benefits are unmanageable without a permanent state of 5% or less unemployment. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how will we ever recover from this? It's a twofold strategy. We must first drive private, not public employment. And second, we must find an alternative to having our federal government manage our retirement account as they do with Social Security. It's time to wake up and make the changes we need now before it's too late. You've been listening to 5 Minutes of Political Common Sense for America. I'm Brian Boeheim, the political engineer. If you like what you've heard here, go up and pick up a copy of my book, Political Common Sense for America. You can find it at Amazon.com. And check out our website, www.pcsfa.com. Until next time, be safe out there.